All right. Well, we're back after a little bit of a Christmas break and New Year's break. I know, Lucci, you were telling some people in the room today that you had a fun time over the past holiday. What'd you do?
San Juan is crazy during the holidays, man. San Juan is crazy. December to January, it's nuts over here, man. Nuts in the sense of like every day is just let's go out and let's celebrate. So everybody's saying felicidades to every like you walk down the street, you're talking to somebody that you don't know. First thing you say is felicidades, like congratulations kind of thing. You made it another year type thing, and everybody's out, man. Literally, everybody's out. I mean, even today, I cruised by. This is 2 days after I cruised by the governor's the Capitol building, and they're inaugurating the new governor, and they closed down like that whole part of the city, and there was tons of people everywhere. 2 cruise ships, 3 cruise ships came in.
Jesus.
There's tourists everywhere, and it's just and it's such great weather. The beach is packed, man. It's like windy too, so the city is just it's buzzing, bro.
Yeah, I'm jealous of that. Right now, it
It's
is
buzzing.
15 degrees by me. So
Oh man. Oh man.
it's cold. That's for sure. We found I got some snow on the ground too, which is, fuck sucks. But I thought didn't the power go out by you too?
Yeah, yeah. So literally on New Year's Eve, power goes out for 1 million plus plus people on the island, and my apartment didn't have power. Luckily, we have this office, thank God. You know what I mean? So even if we go down, we can't go down. So we have a generator here. I even slept. I ended up sleeping on the couch here at like 4. I think I came in at like 6 o'clock in the morning. I think I fell off the couch last that night too.
Yeah, I didn't even know that happened. I was talking to Smitty yesterday for an hour, just kind of like catching up and shooting the shit, talking about the markets. And he goes, yeah, he's like, I keep thinking about going to Puerto Rico for a couple months. He goes, and then all of a sudden, Lucci tells me his power went out. And he's like, dude, I don't know if I could do that. And then Lucci goes, no, it's fine. We're all partying in the streets. Nobody gives a shit. It's a good time. Who cares?
Nobody cares, man. You know how the media will make it look horrendous, man. So I'll always get the call from my mom, worried. My friends will get their calls from their moms in the states and everything. Everybody's so worried. Oh my God, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Is your food okay? And blah blah blah. You got to realize, like, people here have been through a lot of
Yeah.
hurricanes, and everybody's like ready. Everybody's already ready. And if they're not ready, their peoples are ready, and they can rely on other people. They've learned how to do that, and people don't miss a stride down here, man.
Yeah, that's how my buddy is. He's in Tampa, and when the hurricanes started coming, when he first moved on, I'm like, "You ready?" He goes, "Dude, this is like nothing to people out here." Until obviously this last one when they got pretty
Yeah, man.
thrashed. If you're right on the coast, like that was brutal. But he's more inland, and he's like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, dude, people are out just partying. Like nobody cares." And then my cousin, he
Yep.
works at Disney. He's sending me snaps like people are just going like getting drunk every night. I'm like, "Oh, all right. Well, hey, you guys
Mhm.
lived through it. You guys know what you're doing." Like that, I'd be probably tweaking a little bit more, being like, "Yeah, all right, it's time to stock up on water and food, not
Yeah.
toilet paper, just
I
water and
don't
food."
think I don't think people put themselves in that position. I think they just look at the news and they'd be like, "Oh, that shit is kind of messed up." But if you were there, what would you do? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, what would you do? And you'd figure it out, and you'd
Make the
make the
best
best
of it.
of it.
You
You'd
make
make
the
the
best
best.
of it for
You'd make
sure,
the
for
best
sure.
of it.
Well, that's cool. That's cool. So what I wanted to do was, I've known of you, not known you personally, of you since I don't know 2016 when I started doing stuff with Charlie and our good friend Peter.
Yeah.
Good old Pete. So what I would love to do is take a
Yeah.
big old step back and
Sure,
kind
man.
of hear the story of like how you got to basically become Sang Lucci and,
Yeah.
have people start following you and emceeing events and all of that. So where did it all begin?
I mean, I hate doing what everybody else is doing. You know what I mean? Like in general. So like on social media and stuff like that, like I can't if I see too much of the same stuff, like I just can't I can't do it, man. So I gotta like change it up every now and then. And I think that I've been that way, the contrarian, so to speak, since I was a kid. I never wanted to go in the same direction as anybody else. So, in high school, I think I just saw in high school what I saw was like it was like the first time that I saw like rich people, like people who have money, like parents who have money and their kids like have money and what do they like spend their money on? And most of the kids, but they spend it on cars and they spend it on drugs. They spend it on weed and and these were suburb kids,
Yeah.
and that's you spend it on hanging out and all this kind of stuff. And it was kind of like my father was always bitching about money. My mother, I would always grow up just listening to stories of them argue about money, and that was back what in the 80s, early 90s. And you fast forward today, that shit really hasn't changed to be quite honest. It's just like levels to this stuff, right? But
Right. Right.
everybody's still kind of worried about the same things and still kind of worried about tomorrow and all that. That's all that also shows you like we as human beings, like generally speaking, yeah, sure, there's some changes and everything like that, but we're still bitching and moaning about the same shit we were, 50 years ago, whatever. It's just a different way of consuming the information or, different methods, so to speak. So my father was always like really just always upset, angry about financial stuff,
Sure.
and that tends to rub off on you. And then he grew up in a world where all the weight was put on his shoulders because he from the country in India, not really the country per se, but if you saw where he grew up, you wouldn't believe it. People in the States can't understand this stuff. Like they don't even they don't even understand what it would look like or what it would feel like or anything like that. So when you tell them like living situations in India, in some of these rural or even cities outside of the major cities, they can't even comprehend it. I couldn't even comprehend it when I went, and saw it, for my own eyes. And that was like when I was 12 and 13, you kind of get this culture shock. I was born in India, but, came to the States when I was young. So American through and through, man. And my father wanted us to be American, straight up. Like he didn't want, he wanted us to assimilate completely. Like, there was at one point in time, like we stopped even going to Indian functions, Indian parties and stuff like that. And we were just American, we started eating meat. I mean, shit, I started eating meat. I still remember, and I hope my mother doesn't even hear this story. She probably will. But I still remember when my mother had to tell my grandfather that she ate meat, and he smacked the shit out of her.
Really?
And I was young. I'm like, holy shit. Somebody can do that to she was smacking the shit out of me since I was God no. I was like, I was almost like excited about it, but at the same time, obviously you understand how
Yeah, for sure.
how big the situation was. And for our culture, for her growing up, they never touched it, man.
I
They
didn't
never
know that.
touched it,
I'll
bro.
be
They never
honest.
touched it, bro. In the state that they grew up, well, my mother grew up in Mumbai, which is the largest city in India, but they're both Gujarati, and Gujarat is a state that's to the north of India, but it's a vegan state. It's a vegan state. So there's strict rules on how, if somebody brings in meat, what can happen. And, people get arrested for this kind of stuff, So that's the culture there is very strict when it comes to, meat and what you consume. And then there's different types of, there's all kinds of religions, all kinds of languages there, and every single one of them have different practices. So, for example, Jains can't have, yeah, again, traditionally, like they can't even consume stuff that's pulled from the ground because you're disrupting the natural ecosystem here. So what are we talking about? We're talking about carrots. You're talking about potatoes, onions here. We're talking
I'm talking
about.
like
So
everything.
it's So what are you going to eat? It's really just bread. It's bread and lentils. It's literally just lentils, and lentils, and then different types of veggies. And of course, you pour the masalas and the curry on that shit, and you're good to go. It tastes
Sure.
amazing. It's the food I grew up on. Still to this day, when I go to my mother's house, that's the food that I eat. So the weight of the world was put on my father to come to America and save everybody, more or less. His
Right.
father, his sisters, and all this kind of stuff. So he had a lot of burden just just waking up every single day, and he would tell me stories of him in Massachusetts at college, just wanting to kill himself, man, because he didn't have his family wasn't here. He's out here just getting beat up every single day, and all this kind of stuff that was happening that you never really understand until you sit down and have a long conversation with your parents about this stuff. So he struggled a lot mentally, and of course he's a survivor, man. So, because duty, his whole thing is this sense of duty to all the people that
Right.
are around him. Now the
A
messed
lot of
up thing,
pride.
exactly. But now the messed up thing is, after 10 years, you don't see these people. You don't even see your family, and you're sending all this money back home, and you're just like, well, they're taking advantage of me too, kind of thing. And then there is a lot of the dynamic of money, when money is the situation, and it's the currency of it's the language now,
Right.
you're not even talking on the phone anymore, kind of thing. It's just the currency is the language. And he felt like he got taken advantage of a lot by his family and everything. And I can go into detail about that, but those are the stories that I heard growing up, So like there was a big emphasis on, dude, you stop doing nothing with your life kind of thing, and
Right.
go do you better go do something. You better go
Yeah,
do
it's like
something.
a pushing or driving factor, right? Of like how you grew up. I mean, that's a big part
Yeah,
of how you end up going on through the rest of your
right.
life.
I used to hate it. Don't get me wrong, man. This
Sure.
is a recent development now where I can even sit down with my father and have conversations about this stuff, because in our cultures, talking and psychology and all this kind of stuff, like, we never did that shit.
No.
They never even, let's even to discuss the fact that India spawned yoga and all this meditation stuff, which the British stole and sold to everybody as the magic that's going to save everybody. But now our Indian parents would absolutely destroy us if we wanted to be psychologists or yogis or whatever, right? You come to this country, you better be a doctor, you better be, you better make some damn money, So let's see the irony through all of that. So now only I can have conversations with him, open conversations, and
Sure.
listen, and get his perspective on what was going on. And so that was the driving energy for me, man. And I think my first test, there was so many tests. I think most of my tests in life were always proven that I would have great ideas, but I could never execute, and I could never make anything happen. And he would always point that shit out to me too. He would be like, "See, you failed again. You failed again. You failed again." Like, my father was tough,
Yeah.
and I knew it, and I felt it every single time I had an idea and I kind of failed at it, or I just didn't do the work. It weighs on you. So then the next thing that you kind of want to do, you have to push yourself to get to that point. So my first big test was like a painting business that I had in college. Um, and it was the toughest thing that I ever did. I'm
Painting. What were you
painting.
doing? Selling painting, or like you
Yeah,
were
yeah,
painting and selling
just
it?
yeah, literally. So I had like 2, 3 crews, and I would spend some time marketing basically, and just walking around, knocking on people's doors, saying, "Hey, your house looks like shit here. Let me give you a free estimate." And then try to sell them a $3,000 paint job or something like that, or a
Sure.
power wash, or this or that or whatever. And they had a system basically to teach you how to do it, and your thing was to just go and execute, and it was the
Yeah,
hardest
they
thing I
had that
ever
when
had
I
to
was in
do,
school
man.
too. Is the
Exactly,
college painting pro, right?
exactly,
Little multi-mega, multi-level marketing scheme shit, right? Yeah,
exactly.
you get a piece of it. Yeah,
It
yeah. That's
wasn't
how I
an
got.
MLM, I wasn't an MLM. So they took 30% of your profits, right? I had $100,000 a year,
Oh
and I
shit.
ended up I ended up net like I don't know, like 50, I would say, after materials and all this kind of stuff. And that was when I was like, you know, I think I was like 20 or something like that. And then the next year I became like a district manager, and then I had a bunch of people under me. But again, it was such a hustle that
Oh yeah.
it wasn't coming in. It wasn't coming in quick enough. And I was like, this is, this is not enough, kind of thing for me. So that was 20 years old, 21 years old. And then that's when like I proved to myself, like, all right, if I wanted to start a business, like, I can do it. I can do it. I know the different facets of doing it, and I know how to put things together. I know how to manage people. I know how to find the people to do what I need to get done. And then like the hustling started, man. After that,
Right.
that's
The
when the
whole
hustling
mental
started.
side, you figured out that you have that in you, right? Like you have that
Exactly.
dog. Yeah.
Exactly. But because prior to that, even in tennis, like I was badass in tennis, man. But I was always distracted with all the stuff, girls smoking. I was high half the time I was in school. I hated my high school too, bro. I hated my high school, man. So by the time like 2 years left, like me and my one of my best friends to this day, he's the only one that I talk to from high school, is Jamaican kid. We would just smoke up on the way to school every day, and we'd just be every free period we had, it was just smoking blunts after blunts after blunts. And then, but remember, the weed was not at all good as it was today. You know what I'm saying? There was no THC 30% type shit. You know what I mean?
No,
like
you weren't
that,
picking what you got. You're
you
just hoping that
didn't
actually what you bought was weed. It wasn't grass.
So that was I don't even think you were high, but you just felt like going to sleep half the time, or
Yeah.
you just smelled like it. You were definitely high, but it wasn't like it is today. Now you rip a one puff of a pen, man, and you're on a star somewhere.
And you're picking strains, right? Like you
And
go
you're
and say, I
picking,
want this. I can pick this. I know what I'm doing. Yeah,
dude,
it's
I
just
went
wild,
to a
dude.
dispensary with my father too the other day. He couldn't believe it. He was walking around like, what the fuck is this?
You mean I could go somewhere with an ID and buy this shit legally?
It was, and they had a rooftop too where you could just go and sit on some couches, and so it's a whole new world now.
So you do this whole like college painting thing, right? And
Yeah.
then, after that, what kind of want to happen? Like, how did you even like get into the trading side of things? Or did you were you like, cause at least with like some of the other people I've talked to, they had some type of exposure to it either through somebody or a job or school. Like, how do you get the exposure into trading?
I mean, dude, well, hang on. We got to fill in some gaps here, man. You got to remember, I had a daughter.
Oh.
I had baby girl when I was 21. So
that changes everything then, for
once I
sure.
was done with the painting, you got to remember, in the middle of this time too, poker exploded. It was the
Yeah.
first time that you could do party poker. Party poker was it blew up.
Full tilt, party
It
poker.
blew up,
Yeah,
man.
I was doing that shit
and
too.
it was just fish. There was fish. There was fish that didn't know how to play everywhere. So the first type of bots basically were created, and you could build automated programs more or less. And these are very not as sophisticated as they are now, of course, but VMware. I don't know if you remember VMware. There was a company that basically could duplicate your machine, and each one came with its own processing capabilities, and you could basically run, another PC with a
Yeah, they're
bunch of
still
other
around.
poker tables. Yeah, they're still exactly. I think they got bought, but so that allowed everybody to be able to play on like 12 tables at one time. And there was so
Pure
many
degeneracy already.
Exactly, no, 100%. But there was edge, bro. There was edge, man. So I was paying rent with poker money. I was paying rent with poker money. We were going to tournaments all the time. There was high stakes stuff going on. And remember, this is Boston, man. You went to Bentley, BU, BC. These are all kids with fucking rich parents, man.
You're
And
trying to exploit that shit.
they would be there, there'd be $100,000 on the table, and
Wow.
it's college games, man. So, and that's to this day, it's still going down like that. You can never. But at that time, there was so many new players. People didn't know how to play. People didn't know theory. People didn't know anything like that. They just played the cards that they had. Oh, I got two kings. Or whatever.
I have a feeling. A feeling this is the best hand. They're not looking at odds.
Exactly. And then, like, slowly you start to realize, like, the game is actually the mentality side, the psychology side, the behavioral side. And that's when you start to flex that muscle. Like, I started to flex that muscle and then really understand, like, all right, there's other games here to be played behind what's actually happening. So during that, like, I'm playing poker, I have my daughter. Obviously, things aren't like, consistent.
Right.
And, I had a degree in finance. So, I moved in with my girl, and I got a job, bro. I got a job. I got a job.
It's typical 9 to 5. I can't see you doing a 9 to 5. That's why
I lasted 9 months, bro. I lasted 9 months, and to be honest, though, like, my girl and I also, like, we didn't like the relationship that we had, so we both kind of wanted out. Baby girl was only like 1 year old, so it wasn't too taxing on her.
Sure.
And during that time, my life became so structured, bro. I was jacked, dude. I was cooking every single day, and I just had my routine down. Like it was just morning, freaking 6 eggs in the morning, make my little lunch and shit. And then after I get out of work, I go straight to the gym for 2 hours, play with baby girl, and then go to fuck to sleep.
Right.
It was simple in that sense, right? And we could cover expenses and all that, more or less. And I was living in the graduate apartment. So I still hadn't graduated at that time, at that moment in time. So I was living in the graduate apartments. And again, like similar to how I roll around these days, like everybody knew me at the college. I was running the activities over there. So I was doing all their concerts and everything. So we had like we had Dave Chappelle come out. We had all these artists come out to do to do concerts and stuff like that at the school that I was at. We would get this budget. So everybody at the school knew me. And, once I had my daughter, like there was a huge waiting list at the graduate apartments. And I told the people that I knew, like, listen, yeah, you got to hook me up with something, man. They put me at the top of the list. And, I also learned how to like learn the value of the connection thing. Like I
Yeah.
also used to I played that game a lot. I watched my father do it a lot. He was good. He was good. He ain't as good as me, but I watched him do it a lot, man. Because my father was very charming. He was an asshole, complete asshole. Like you couldn't stand him if you really got to know him.
Right.
But he was a charming dude, man. He was a charming dude. He could talk to anybody. He could talk to anybody. So
Which is
I
a
watched,
wildly important skill to have across the board with
you
pretty much
know,
anything, especially nowadays.
So, and that's me through and through, man. You've seen me. You've seen
Yeah.
how I move around. So, you never know. You never know when you're going to need something. So I always based how I'm moving off of that one principle, man. You never know when you're going to need something. And it's like give a gift, get a gift, man. Like that shit still works since whenever. You do me a favor, I got to get you back at some point. That sort of unwritten rule here. So
Right.
so I moved into the apartments, had a real structured life. I was making like 40,000 a year, and we were able to cover, expenses and things like that. And that's it, man. But then 9 months into it, bro, I couldn't,
This
I
shit
couldn't,
ain't me,
I couldn't
man.
do it, dude. PlayStation 3 came out while I was still there. While I was still there, PlayStation 3 came out, and I spent the whole weekend because I had 12 kids. I bought them tents, I bought them food for 2 days, and I camped them out in front of the Walmarts and wherever I could find. That thing came out. We bought them for $350, and I was selling them for like $1,500.
Oh, you flipped them.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
That's a unique hustle. Holy shit.
Yeah, and I just had to come out of pocket maybe like another 100 or 200 for all the kids, So I paid them, $100. It's $100. Fine. They had to camp. It was wet. It was snowy. Like it was miserable for them. So they were all pissed off. I was like, all right, here's another 100. You know what I mean? And I would sell them. I sold them for 1,500. I made like 30 grand that weekend. And I remember coming in late the next day, and the dude was like, "Yo, you can't come in late," and blah 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 blah. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, yo, I made 30 grand last weekend. What the fuck are you talking about, bro? Like,
I made almost my entire yearly salary.
it's like I do my work on time. Nobody has any problems with me. Why? So I don't know. It's just little thing after little thing. And again, like the contrarian in me, like you tell me stuff like that, it doesn't compute for me. And that came from my father too. My father was like, he didn't get along with his bosses, because he would always tell his bosses like, yo, you're an idiot here. This is how you should do it. So that's why he also had a difficult time like growing in some of these companies, because you can't act like that. You can't act like that.
No, you got to play the political game.
You
At some
have to
point,
play that
especially-
game. And I
Yeah.
knew, bro. I knew from the beginning. I was like, I can't play this game. I can't play this game. Like y'all want me to come to lunch with you and hang out with you. Like I don't even know you, bro. I don't like you. I don't even want to be here. Okay, like So it was just a matter of time before I was out of there. So once I left, then it was like, oh shit. Now we're on our own here. And it was like, okay, what the hell are we gonna do, kind of thing. And I'm just kind of looking online and stuff for and buying. And another hustle that I had too at this time were tickets. So that's when, remember, the Red Sox won the pennant. The Red Sox won the pennant in this is 2003, 2004.
Yeah.
Once they broke the curse and shit, you could get $11 bleachers and sell them for $90. I was already in the city flipping tickets like in front of Fenway Park. Because I could buy them from somebody who was just like, yo, I got an extra ticket, I can't go. I could buy them and then sell them for a $10 margin somewhere. I was already doing that. But then my boy figured out, the guy who now owns, his name is Ace Tickets. You can even look this shit up. The guy who now owns 9,000 season tickets to the Garden, Gillette Stadium, and Fenway Park. He has literally that amount in every single. I think he probably has more at this point. This guy, when he was starting out, he went to all the colleges and he would pay the kids to sit in the computer lab, and he'd pay them $20 to manually buy these tickets on MLB.com. And me and my boy were like, yo, what the, where is he selling these tickets? What is going on here? You know what I mean? Like, so we start doing a little research, and then we see the prices on eBay. We're like, okay, all right, this is the game now. This is what we got to figure out. And my boy's at BU, so he's running into kids who know computer programming, this and that. And we had luckily we befriended one who built us a program, and we've racked up on summer games for any Red Sox game, any summer game. It could be anything, Milwaukee Brewers or whoever the hell was coming to town, and we would kill it, bro. We would absolutely kill it on those tickets. So
it's the OG of what now has become botting on everything. They're trying
botting on everything.
Yeah,
exactly. Now, fast forward 15 years later, the game is still there. There's still bots that are beating Ticketmaster and all this kind of stuff. The game is still there. Brokers are still there. It's just technology has advanced. Right. Your code has to be better. And if you could marry this to any other system here where it's an arms race, like similar to HFT or all the shit that's going on right now in the markets, it's the same thing. It's just an arms race. Whose code is better and whose tech is better. So the problem was we couldn't get any volume, man. We didn't have any money, man. So we couldn't figure out how to get the volume, man. So anyways, all that was going on, and I was looking for other ways to make money, and I've come across this posting for a trading job. And at that point they had prop trading, the real prop trading, not prop trading as they say it now. Prop trading now is fake money where they really don't want to pay you out, so they'll do everything to not pay your ass out. And it's wild what's happening now. We'll talk about that later, I'm sure. But prop trading, as it was, you go in, they have technology that you don't have, they got access that you don't have, and you put up a little bit of capital, and then they take the risk on you. Now, commissions were super high, so they were making a lot of money off of commissions at that time, and that was their business model. And then the few traders that they had that were making money, boom, they'd get a little check off the top on that. And so I walked in. And I remember the first day, like this dude made like 15 grand, and he bought everybody pizza. And it was literally all 24 to 30-year-old white dudes just sitting there in their flip-flops in front of these computers. I'm like, what the fuck are y'all doing? So then literally I was like, all right, I'll start tomorrow.
See, it's interesting to hear yours, right, of how you do when you walk in, because listening to Jay or Ranch, right? They got some age on us, right?
Yeah,
so,
yeah, oh yeah.
Right, they're going in, and he's like, "God, dude," they both of them like, it's straight Belfort shit. Like, people are fucking screaming. Oh yeah, it's fucking chaos.
Their introduction was way different than mine.
And now you're walking and you got people in flip flops, just chilling. Like, what are you doing? I just staring at a computer, making 15 racks real quick. No big deal.
Exactly, and what their system was, they were 95% short traders, and they had a system that could bypass the uptick rule. Nobody here knows what that shit is because they got rid of it in 2007, 2008. The uptick rule basically prevented. It was a way that they could it was a way that they could calm things down. In their eyes, they're saying it prevented runs on stocks. So if you wanted to short a name, you had to short on the uptick, and somebody had to buy you out. Otherwise, you couldn't beat a stock down like you can do right now.
Right.
And So they had some tech that would allow them to bypass the uptick rule and smack the bid. So, and you had to pay up for this tool. And remember, that's also another game. You could marry that to short locates of today, or different kinds of under the gray areas in the world of trading here, where there's kind of like a group that owns this information or owns the access, and you have to pay for said access here, and you got to pay top dollars for this. Some of the short locate stuff going on right now, you wouldn't even believe what's going on there, and how any of this stuff is legal. I have no idea. And who creates this shit? I also have no idea. But that also bred the HFT stuff. Once 2007 happened, they killed uptick rule and they instituted regulation NMS. All the exchanges now became for-profit exchanges. That's it. It was over, man. Overnight, the market changed. And everybody at that office that I started out with, I started out in 2006, 2007. So I didn't know any better. These guys had been trading for years, making money hand over foot just with that tool that they had to bypass the uptick rule. Once that happened, everything changed, and everybody in that office stopped making money.
Yeah, they got crushed, right? Like, that was their edge.
They got crushed because they didn't know how to go long. They didn't know how to go long. They didn't know how to go long. They didn't know how to go long.
Somebody nowadays, oh, you don't want to go long. People are gonna be like, yeah, how bad are you getting crushed right now?
Exactly.
You don't want to go long.
Exactly. I am a short based trader by nature because I'm a contrarian, and that's how I think. So I have periods in time where I go on runs that are absolutely insane because we have a panic and fear, type of market here. But you have to be able to adjust. You have to be able to play the game that's in front of you. So luckily, like, I wasn't too ingrained in that type of mentality, and I was able to figure out how to go long. I started to trade options and just started to try to figure things out.
And that's where you get your first exposure into like the trading world. How long did you last there? Like, or what were you doing? Like, you say you're trading options and all that, but like what was it like then, given, because when I talk to Jay and all them too, they're saying, oh yeah, like, commissions were up the ass, options were taboo.
Oh, dude, my shit was
for Jay. So
yeah, no, my shit was tough. I didn't learn options until I was already on my way out of that prop firm. Like, so I was trading predominantly equities. I started off really small. Then the firm slowly started to give you a little bit of risk as you show that you could at least make money or level off and not lose money. And then they would kind of, up your shares. Basically, you could trade 500 shares, 1,000 shares now. And I could always figure out how to make money. I figured out how to make money quickly, I would say. The not losing part, that was a whole nother problem. And shit, I'm even still dealing with that to this day, even after 18 years, 20 years of doing this shit. It never kind of leaves you. You're able to do it better. You don't have to be 100%. But, I would always make like 20 grand one month, and then the next month I'd be down 12, and the next month I'd be up 30. Next month I'd have a down 40,000 month. So then you start to realize, like, it ain't the market, it's you, it's your dumbass. And then once you figure that part out, then it's a rabbit hole to figure out who the hell you are and how you fit in all this stuff, and where your bread and butter is, and what are the mental hacks that you need to do to make sure you take home money every single month and everything. But it's growing pains, man. All that shit was growing pains, so I mean, the first month I made like 20 grand. Immediately I went out to go get an apartment and all this kind of stuff. And then next month you take it up the ass and you're just like, wow, now I got a bunch of furniture I can't.
And the way you were doing it too, you're just getting paid off making money, right? There's
exactly.
No
oh yeah, there was no
commission based.
Yeah, no, it was none of that. So that was the game there. And then as people started to filter out, the market started to crash. That was 2008.
I was just about to put the timeline together with you and ask that, because I'm like, wait, if you start 06, financial crisis in 08, that's a hell of a time to depends on if you were able to short it, right? Like, for sure, being a short bias person. But two, like, that's a hell of a time to like really, I mean, we talk about how long it takes people to actually learn how to trade. You're 2 years in basically at this point, right? That's not a shit ton of time.
Yeah. But I mean, once the market like 2007, we were still hitting all-time highs.
Right.
2007, even into 2008, we were still hitting all-time highs. Nobody saw that coming as quickly as it did. All the head guys at the office, and they came from an offshoot of a New York prop firm. And by the way, all prop firms, like, they work on pooled capital. So if one stone, or if one trader goes down really, really bad, that affects capital for the whole
Really? It's a whole
group.
ripple effect.
Exactly. Now, the head guys in my office, they were buying all the banks on the way down. They couldn't believe what was happening. Nobody could. One day Bear Stearns is trading, $180. The next day it's at fucking 60, and the next day it's at $2. And that happened in the span of 2-3 days. So people were just going nuts. The energy in there was nuts. But it was my time to shine, because you could literally. I remember one day I was just trading 1,000 share lots of Goldman Sachs. All I was doing was just ripping a point after point after point after point, just shorting, reshorting. I left to go to lunch. I was up like 25 grand. I left to go to lunch. My boy, by the time I get back to lunch, my boy was up double what I was. It was like it was like a competition in there for the ones that were really ready for that type of action. And
Yeah, and stomach it too, right?
Oh yeah, no, 100%. So I had that one month when we really crashed, I had a $100,000 month, and I was 24, 23, something like that. So you knew it was there. Like, it was there in front of you. There was no question about that. Then it was just, all right, how do I keep it? How do I go home with it? How do I control myself so I can go home with more of it? And that's shit. That shit you can't figure out in months. You can't figure out in years.
No.
It's like when you marry somebody, they say you only truly know them after 10 years. It's like, you really telling me I gotta be with this person for 10 years before I fucking know them? Yeah. Like, that's how long. You don't even know you don't know yourself. You don't know the depths of where it can go. And then nobody's ever tested like that. If I stayed at that financial analyst job, I wouldn't know myself for shit, man, because I never been you never been tested in places like that. It's comfort. That shit is just comfort. You get paid, you go home. That's it. That is it. You know what I mean? And at that time, there was no social media. There was none of that stuff. Everybody wasn't in your face telling you, hey, you should go start a side business. Hey, why don't you have 6 streams of fucking income? Yeah, what are you doing there at your 9? Nobody was saying that shit. It was like, everybody had a 9 to 5, and that was fine. But it was comfortable. That life was comfortable.
Yeah, comfortable. And what I was going to ask you too, though, not to really fast forward, just out of pure curiosity here, is when you're trading at a prop firm, right? Like, did you have the mentality that, yeah, I know I need to make money because I need to get paid, but this is also like not my money? Like, I'm trading somebody else's. So like, mentally you're like, I could YOLO this shit a little bit more, or was it still like, no, I got to make cash? So you're like disciplined. Like, where was your head at?
You had to have that in your mind, especially if you coming back making losses, because the company would let you go into them for a little bit. I was down probably 20, 25 of the company's capital, and then you have to make that back. So, you still had to be, they were still on top of you. If you had a bad losing day, somebody was knocking at your door and telling you,
trying to get your ass for losing their capital.
Yeah, somebody's knocking at your door saying, hey, listen, you should size back down to 100 shares, get your mind right, and then go back up. I'm like, fuck you, 100 shares. Come on, man. What do I look like?
Like, I need to make this back and double it, so I'm back in the green right now. What the fuck
Exactly.
you mean? I need leverage. Don't tell me I need less shit. Give me fucking leverage.
Exactly. And then if I'm staring at that type of market with that type of juice, come on, man. So then again, I have another test with authority. Of course, this is not something that I'm rocking with. So I'm trying to figure out ways to get out. So I'm like, all right, I gotta start doing something else here. I gotta get a side account. I remember trading my side account at that office, and I remember talking about my trades on that side account at the office. They didn't want me trading it. They didn't want me influencing, the minds of everybody else. And again, now I understand it, because they had a business model. They wanted everybody to churn and burn. I was trying to swing stuff with options on my side account, and try to figure different things out. And they were just like, nah, man, you can't do that shit. I was like, come on, how you going to tell me I can't do that? Get the fuck out of here.
So even back then, they didn't really want you to make money, or is it more of like,
I mean, again, remember it's a business, right? So they had their interest, I had mine.
sure,
That's it.
yeah, it's just different than obviously what it is then. So you were how long were you at the prop firm then?
Like
Like you
2
make it
years.
through '08,
Maybe like a year and a half, 2 years.
so
And
you're
then they
out
closed.
after the
Oh,
financial crisis.
but they closed. They
Oh,
closed.
they just
They
toast.
closed because they were long Bear Stearns on the way down. They were long Bear Stearns. They were
Yeah,
long
that's right.
JP
That's right.
Morgan. They were long everything. So they had to. The dude literally made a speech, kind of like Belfort's speech, saying like, "We're not going anywhere," type stuff. We're not closing.
Until the next day,
And
you're
the
like,
next
actually, we
day-
got no capital, bro.
And the next day, Locks is on the door. We can't get it.
That's like the ultimate fuck you to the person. He's probably like, oh shit, I just rah-rahed the troops, and all of a sudden now they have nothing.
You know. So
So what'd you do then? They closed down, and what happens?
oh, they closed down, and I was ready to go, man. I had a little bit of cash in mine, and then unfortunately, my father got blown out through the all his retirement funds.
Yeah.
So I took his threw in mine, and I was like, "Yo, it's time to go." And that was 2009. We just bought shit. I just bought stuff down there, man, and that's all you had to do. That's all you had to do. It was easier. It was obviously
Talking like
easier.
property? You're just buying properties?
No.
Trading?
Stocks that was Las Vegas Sands was $1, bro.
You're saying that because the market's so fucking tanked.
Yeah, it was-
Buying shit and
Las
waiting
Vegas
for it to
Sands
go
was
back
$1, bro. I sold it at 5 like 3 days later, and I had like 60,000 shares because again, like I had some leverage. We had a PMA account, so
Yeah.
I was slinging shit, just trying to get it back, and we did well and made a couple mil in 2009, and then that was it, man.
So that in 2009 is when you made it. Do you remember what your biggest trade was? I'm always curious.
It was a Citigroup trade. Yep, that will always be my. Well, I had one that's right. That was right about the same, but Citigroup was the biggest one at that time. Las Vegas.
And at
Sands
that
was
time, they were
big.
probably what, less than 20 cents a share, or where was it sitting?
Dude, it was $1. It was $1. It was $2 stock, bro. It was a $2 stock, $2.50 stock, something like that. And then it went to $4. Went to $4, and I caught. There was like a late rotation into banks. Nobody was buying them because, of course, they're banks.
Yeah.
And at that time, nobody wanted to buy them. But then, there was a slow drip, and boom, they just took off, man. I had penny options that went from like 4 cents to 40 cents, and they ended up going to like 80 cents. Had I held the position, it would have been like 7 mil or something ridiculous like that. But
So now you're in Boston, right? You
Yeah.
just cleared what? Like we'll say $2 million. Like
two and change, yeah.
so did you just do what everybody does when they become a millionaire and start buying frivolous shit across the board, or are you pretty disciplined
Yeah.
with it?
No, they were my father, and again, like God bless the man, because now I realize like what he did was way smarter than I could ever be in reality. So it was like he retired and took his cash out and literally didn't do anything with it and hasn't done anything with it for years. So everybody is like, especially now, everybody is like, yo, 10x that shit. Keep it in there. Like, go, keep going.
Yeah,
Go
what's
for
10 million? You
go
need
for
200.
10,
You need
go for
500
10.
million.
And that's the narrative that is out there, He was so scared to lose that shit. Like he just didn't even want to be in the game. He didn't want to be in the game. He didn't even want to be anywhere near it, man. So he took his cash out, and that was it, bro. He just dipped.
So I'm running off into the sunset. He's
He
like,
was
I'm
gone.
happy with this, and didn't change his lifestyle. What did you do then?
I took, I went out and shit. Apartments, a lot of dumb things. I traveled a lot.
What'd you buy car wise? Come on, I got to know.
Oh, I had the Kia. What did I have? I had the Audi. I had that. Dude, I was never a car guy, man. I was never a car guy, bro. But I had that S5 when it came out. That Audi S5, that 2-door sedan when it came out. That shit looked sleek when it came out. And then a week later, I was like, dude, I didn't even want this thing. So I ended up selling it in Dominican Republic for double what I paid for. So that that was nice. But most of the other stuff that I did, it was constantly like I kept moving with it. And by the way, like I had a major loss after I took that win. I had like a $500,000 loss. And I was just
so you burned like 25% plus of the account and one more trade after that?
After that was kind of like weeks after that, because I was still trading. And then I lost that, and that was the biggest loss I've ever taken. I was like, whoa, this sucks. and that just then I was just like, yo, I'm done. Like, I'm done. I'm tired. And I just didn't, I just kind of chilled and enjoyed. I was going out a lot and had a lot of girlfriends and that
So
kind
you
of thing.
stopped trading after that
I
loss?
stopped
Just
trading. Yeah.
done
For like a
completely.
year. Yeah. For like a year.
Oh shit! So this wasn't like a short term thing. This
No,
is.
no, no. Yeah. It's for like a year. I
And
stopped
did
trading.
you were you just telling yourself that too? Like, no, I can if I do this right, I can live off of this shit,
No,
right? Like,
no, that was
no.
the missing part. That was the missing part. I never thought that far, which unfortunately I'm only starting to think about that now these days. So yeah, so it blew out. Yeah, I wouldn't say it blew out, but I started to realize like, shit, if you want to live this lifestyle, you better
Need
go
more than
back.
a couple
Yeah,
mil,
you
right?
need more. You need more, bro. You need more, bro. You better get back to work.
But
So
did you have like? I mean, you know how this is, right? You've been in this game long enough. It's an itch that you can't scratch sometimes
oh,
too. Did you?
100%. 100%. I keep looking. I kept looking or whatever, but there's those moments where you can't let go of the past kind of thing. So
Yeah.
every time I came to look at it, I would think about, I would think about the loss, I would think about all that kind of stuff. And I was just like, you know what? Let me just chill for a little bit longer, a little bit longer, a little bit longer. Then you get comfortable too. You have a nice lifestyle. And then eventually you come back and you're like, I need to make some more, man. So that's when I came back to the game. But then when you come back, you're cold, man. You're cold. You gotta warm up the engines. You gotta trade a little
Yeah.
bit. You gotta throw some shit around. Like it is a process, man. And so I don't know, man. There's always like a trial period kind of thing where you have to get the gears going again and see if you still have it and see if you still have the confidence and see what kind of market it is. All these markets change all the time, man.
Yeah, it
So
changed lightning fucking fast, especially
yeah,
now.
and then I realized I was like, all right, if I'm going to do this again, I need a business that makes me, $4,000, $5,000, $10,000 a month. That way I don't have to worry about living while I'm trading. You know what I'm saying? So I don't have to think about, okay, I have to make X, Y, and Z for the month or whatever. So that's when I started Sang Lucci, and I started just creating this sort of personality and just, I just started focusing. Like I would trade during the day, and then for 4, 5, 6 hours after, I would just work on Sang Lucci.
And what was that? What was the initial iteration
It
of
was
Sang
just
Lucci? Just a
me, dude.
personality?
It was just me talking shit about finance because I was so enamored and like with because at the time CNBC, Yahoo Finance, and everything was so dry.
Oh
Like
yeah.
now, you turn on CNBC, you hear 50 Cent in the break. You hear like an R. Kelly song and shit. Like all that stuff never used to happen. Like it was the driest shit that you've ever seen, man. There was no edge. Nobody was using memes and pictures of whatever. You wouldn't even find pictures of stuff describing what a news article was. It was the driest stuff I've ever seen. So I came out with just the satire voice, and that really caught on kind of thing. And I used that kind of momentum to create like a small world. And, I started just doing free memberships to a chat room and free classes and all this kind of stuff. And then eventually you start to realize, all right, now I can charge for this stuff. And that's how it started.
See, that's where it gets interesting for me more than anything is that portion of you like starting to build a chat room and all of that because
Yeah.
I've gotten 3 different stories of how this actually came to be. And Jace
Uh-huh.
is the funniest to me because he goes, "Yeah, I don't know. Lucci guy, he had some shit, and he said, why don't you come join me?" And yeah. So I just fucking die every time we were talking. He's like, I don't fucking know. I don't. It's Charlie. No, it was Charlie. Charlie did it. And then I talked to Charlie, and Charlie goes, What does he mean he doesn't know? I'm like, yeah, he has no fucking clue actually how this all came to be. So you go into
I had
this,
I had the first iteration.
Yeah.
Mine was the first iteration. And, remember, like at the time, it was just Blogspot. It was just Blogger. It was just Google had the only blogging kind of feed or whatever that you could post to. And then everybody inside of that system could like find some of the stuff that you were doing or whatever. Google was the only one that had it. It was called Blogspot. And then me and a couple other traders from this prop firm in New York, Tim Sykes and a couple other guys who are, maybe they're still in the game or not. we would post our P&Ls every single day. And that's how, and then Sykes had the great idea of, building Covester and Profitly and all this kind of stuff where you could actually be transparent about your trades. But that was how we started. It was literally only 6 of us, and we would just post our P&Ls every single day. There was some hot shot traders too at that prop firm too. You'd see them pulling down $100,000 in a day, $200,000 in a day type trades, and it was impressive stuff. So I posted my P&L. I had my chat room, and then I would spend my days writing like 3 articles a day. Dude, I would pump them out, man, and pump them out.
Really?
Yeah, and they were
I didn't
all
know you were basically what we call a blogger now, but that's basically what you were at one point.
Yeah. That's literally
When
what I
is
did.
this though? What's the time?
2010.
So this is 2010.
Yeah, 2010.
Oh shit! All right, so this is
2011.
like super early to the whole interwebs of people trying to be personalities before YouTube and all that shit was really
exactly. And then Sykes had he started to do conferences and things like that, and I was kind of his options guy in the beginning, and that's how I started. And that's how I, just kind of went up there and did a couple speaking engagements, and then that's how Charlie found me. That's how Peter and Charlie found me. And they found me at one of these conferences. I don't forget which one it was. And they were like, yo, let's start a hedge fund. And I'm like, if you can get the money, yeah, sure.
I can only imagine Pete's response to that right now. What do you mean?
You got to remember, Peter was so wet behind the ears, bro.
Yeah.
Like he was so it was crazy, man. Like I had a hotel room with like a gold toilet up in that thing, and he was just like, dude, you're the man, bro. That kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So he was so wet behind the ears, man. And that's not a racist comment at all. Like
most people have no idea what he looks like anyway.
We know he's Chinese, but wet behind the ear, I don't know if that's anyway, wet behind the ears meaning like he was green, he was young, he didn't see any of this stuff. And
full of piss and vinegar. If anybody's ever met him, that guy fucking hustles.
Peter Zhang is a hustler, 100%, bro. He can work. So I met them there. They're from LA. I went out to LA with them a couple times. Charlie obviously had a good network. Peter and Charlie were good friends. And then that's when we came up with the idea to move to New York. We all moved to New York. We found a disgustingly ridiculous place in lower Manhattan where it was literally just us and the Pace University kids, because that was after the towers blew up and nobody lived down there. Nobody wanted to live down there.
Is this the loft?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a ghost town down there, and we had this huge space down there for just to run the business. And Charlie and Peter grew it to something way bigger than I ever thought it could be. We had 15, 20 employees at one point, and it grew really quickly. And
which means you must have been doing pretty good. So you guys start this hedge fund, but
yeah,
like, what was the strategy behind it? Was it just like you had individual traders doing their own thing, or was this?
No, it was just me. It was just me running it was me running it. So we had a couple good years, but then we blew out. At some point. I think it was 2015 or something like that. We blew out, and we had our ups, and then you can grow too fast. We grew too fast. We had too much overhead. And then as things started to slide, we were trying to save these things. And, we take loans out just to save these things. And we got into some bad positions. And that was it, bro. And that was it. We had to kind of close everything down, scale everything down, and and come back to reality kind of thing. So I came back to Boston after that to start over, and that was a tough period in my life too.
Okay, so you're in this loft, right, with Peter and Charlie. You start building this shit out. It gets to be really big, and then it starts going down. And I totally understand the whole growing too fast thing, because that when I worked in startups, that was the same thing. Then you people tossing you money left and right, and then shit, as soon as you hit a wall and you can't get through it, you're like, oh fuck, like how this is gonna be. So one thing, when I was talking to Chris, he made mention to this, and I don't know if I ever was at the loft when I met you guys. I don't think you guys had it at the time, but Chris was like, dude, You gotta ask Lucci about the Lucci parties, the loft parties is like a big
Oh
thing that everyone
shit.
talked about. So not that we have to go deep into it, but I am as I literally told him, I go, listen, I was in Vegas with Lucci. I said I can't imagine what Lucci was like in his 20s, like doing this shit. It had to be fucking crazy. 2030s just going buck wild.
I mean, you got to remember, like, I've always been the 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 man of the people kind of thing, right? So I'll always have like different crews, right? So I can connect like different worlds. And in New York City, you got every world. Whatever world that you want to be a part of, it's right around the corner. So, and we had like a real diverse crew in the office, man. We had Charlie, we had Peter, we had my boy who's Dominican, myself. And so we would literally just pack that place like on the weekends. And our interns would take the furniture. And remember, there's 15 to 20 employees. So we had tons of desks in there. All right, let me paint a picture, right? The loft is
There we go. That's what I've been waiting for.
The loft, when you enter, it's kind of like this shit in the back, right? So you open up the elevator and then you kind of enter this foyer sort of place, and then it opens up into this big just empty space. And in front of you, there's the main bathroom, and then the kitchen runs alongside the back wall, and the kitchen runs all the way to the other side of the end of the loft. So the kitchen island is literally like 60% of the length of the whole place, and it's like 2,500 square feet. You know what I mean? So picture a kitchen island where a lot of possibilities can happen. Right? Like, there's a lot of things that can go down on a kitchen island that big, and then in the middle of it was like a stove, and then the walls like behind the kitchen where the cupboards were and all that, like you could write on those things. It was like those dry erase things or whatever, right? So we could just write. So I'd have my artist friends come out and just paint the fucking wall up, and then every party had like a different theme to it, right? So if we threw birthday parties, like the artists would come in and just plaster the backside of the wall, and it was it's the wall is the size of the kitchen island, man. So when you come in, you know this ain't no normal party, right? And then all the bedrooms were in the corners of the apartment, and then they all had their own bathrooms. And then there was a patio area where you could kind of walk outside, and yeah, and then big ass windows, right? Big ass windows, and one section, and it was kind of divided into three, right? These big columns, and one section was the living room where we just had this big projector here and like this giant ass couch for everybody to chill on. The dining room, which had this really dope table. I spent like 12 grand on this fucking table. And we would literally close like clients, and we would do all our meetings there. Peter would immediately just light up a blunt. Every single meeting we had, he'd light up a blunt. And these were all Wall Street guys. These were HFT guys that worked on Wall Street that just came to chill with us after they got out of their shop. And again, these are Wall Street guys. It's drugs everywhere. It's drugs is like part of the conversation. It's this New York shit. It's part of the conversation. And so we would always just sit there, and there was literally like 10 chairs, and the table was super high, and that's where everything just went down, bro. And then the far side was literally like 10 desks, 10 IKEA ass desks connected together in this weird fucking Tetris ass way. And then everybody was just there trading, working on marketing, and blah 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 blah. So the interns would take all the furniture down, put it in the bedrooms, clear everything out, and then that way we had like places to put the bars, and and we could have the whole floor to just fucking party, bro.
Yeah.
And so every party that we threw, there's 200, 300 people in there. There's people from all over all walks of life in New York City. People coming in from different states even to just hang out and just party with us. New Year's party, any fucking excuse we had, we would throw some wild ass parties. And I would always like jazz it up. Like I would pay a magician to come out, girls to come out to dance on the island and shit. We had like a mask party and stuff. So he just went out and bought a shit ton of masks, dumped them on the kitchen island. Everybody came in and just grabbed one and just you're just fucking around. Just there's coke in the bathrooms. Every single bathroom has coke in it. It was vibe, bro. It was
It sounds like a hell of a time.
Shit went down, man. And the Pace University kids were upstairs doing the same shit, except their stuff just didn't look as lofty as our stuff. So the kids upstairs were on the rooftop, just playing beer pong in fucking 20-degree weather. So so the stairwell was filled with degenerates.
It's like a glorified frat house at this point,
dude. But it was in our place,
with money, and it was nice.
And then people would pay us to use the spot to promote their own kind of things. They would throw freaking lingerie parties, this and that. There was some things going on in there, man. There was some things going on.
Yeah, I bet. I was always just curious. I was like, when Chris told me, he's like, you have to ask him. I'm like, all right, I'll ask him.
But I always, even to this day, like I enjoy that vibe. I like entertaining. I like hosting. I like that whole vibe of bringing everybody together, bro. I'd rather like a house party to me is where you want to be at. It's where you want to be at. Fuck a club, fuck a bar, fuck all that stuff. You go to a good house party, there's nothing like it. You're going to remember everything at that party because the vibe and the energy was just amazing. Because you go to each different room in the house and there's a different vibe going on. And for me, that's the way to really connect with people, bring people together, enjoy yourself, and obviously meet new people.
Right.
And from there, things would just blossom into other stuff, man. You got to remember, this is New York City. Nobody goes to sleep, bro. You get done with work, you ain't at the house. You're not at the crib. Nobody's at the crib. You go out, right? Nobody goes home and hits the bed until they're actually go to fucking sleep. You're not, nobody's cooking. Ain't nobody cooking around. You're in the city. You go out to eat. You go out and you have a drink after. And then if you got no self-control, you out till fucking 4 every night,
doing it again the next day.
And remember, this is Wall Street, man. Cocaine is a fucking necessity. It was a necessity, and it probably still is for a lot of the guys down there. Maybe not as much as these days, but coke you need it. Like people need it down there.
So I'm trying to think. Were you doing anything with Dennis back then? Was Dennis part of your group? I worked with him at Halo. Pete knew him. I didn't know if he did some like high frequency trading shit. So I didn't know if he was part of your crew or he maybe just showed up at a party. I was just curious.
Schlossberg.
No, I think it was Monahan, unless I got the name wrong.
I'm not sure.
I got you. I was just curious. But anyways,
there was a good amount of HFT guys that came around, and we funded, like we were doing really well. So we had, we separated a decent amount for the HFT guys. So we separated, 250 here, 500 here, 250 there for a lot of different fund strats. And it was a great idea, right? Because we could spread out the risk over these guys. Now, every single one of these guys shit the bed there too. And their code just wasn't up to par.
Yeah, I didn't know if you dabbled. That's why I was asking. I'm like, I wonder if you got into that. Not as you like actually coding it, but being like, hey, like here's an idea. Someone go build this shit for me. We're gonna do some.
Yeah, 100%. I would yell it out all the time, but doing it for options was obviously at that time was a lot more complicated than and then data was extremely expensive, way more so than it is today. So your infrastructure costs were through the roof, man. That's why you needed to go to the bank. If you were an HFT guy, or if you were a guy that had a strat, you needed the either the prop firm's infrastructure or the bank's infrastructure. You needed it. Right. That's why these guys couldn't make money when they left. They couldn't make money on their own when they left because they didn't have the bank's leverage and they didn't have the bank's resources, bro. UBS will have a desk of fucking 200 guys out in freaking Stanford, and they got weapons, bro. They got weapons. They got everything. So once these guys left and tried to make it on their own, they couldn't do it.
So what happens then? So you guys are you have the hedge fund, but where does the Steamroom come into play? Because you're doing the whole SangLucci.com thing, right? You become a personality. You've obviously grown on Twitter, but where does the Steamroom actually come to fruition? Where you're like, yeah, we're gonna have a full on chat room. We're gonna build tools. We're gonna do this whole fucking thing.
Well, I think that all blossomed when Peter, it was Peter, I believe, that found Wall Street Jesus, because Wall Street Jesus is a person that, he doesn't exist in many other life form. I don't think he would exist in a lot of other ways. Like this man, he's a machine, and the information that he posted and that he was posting for free. And you know what? You got to ask him. I don't know. I never asked him why he was doing this shit for free, but he did the shit for free, and he would post everything. And it was a different way of looking at the same shit that we were looking at, but except there was actual data to it. And then it was like trade alerts kind of came around, and they started building their platform. And then it became like, oh shit, there's a real footprint here, and there's a way to watch big options trades. So that kind of started, so to speak. That wave started, and Peter saw it, and he was the one who suggested we reach out to Wall Street Jesus. So I think he got a meeting, and then we may have been at a WeWork at that moment in time. So we may have left the loft, and then we were working out of a WeWork, and he came through. He came through from Long Island, and he came through to meet us. We met him, and we decided to make the deal. Because remember, if you're trying to figure out, startups, man, the life of startups, man, is very strange, right? Because we grew too early. We were trying to find ways to sustain ourselves, right? Partnerships to sustain ourselves. And that was one of the better ones. Of course, we shot our shot on a lot of different ones too, man. And when he came around, he definitely offered a solution here, and a new way of pumping out information, a new subscription type, a new community, basically, because he had a really solid following, and people just love to listen to him, man. So we kind of created a world around him, connected it with ours, and then started to really understand him as a person, his lingo and stuff like that. And then that's when we were like, all right, Lucci's got his own lingo. This dude's got his own lingo. Let's connect the two. And I think that's how all of it happened, basically.
Yeah, he was. I asked him that question when I talked to him. I was like, because he's anonymous. Like you're one of what,
He's
four
anonymous.
people in
Yeah.
the four people on the planet that doesn't even know what he looks like, right? So
Sure.
some people don't even think he's real, or that it's Charlie that is using a voice changer in the room. I've gotten that a couple times too. But Jay even told me, he goes, I just wanted to talk to people that liked this shit. Because that's it. Because it was never about anything else. I'm trading my own accounts. I'm doing well. He goes, that's why I started posting. He's like, I didn't care if I ever got big, because I just saw shit and I wanted to have conversations about it. So I just posted it on Twitter, and that's it. And he's like, there's really not much to it. He goes, there's not much of a deeper story here.
Shout out to Twitter, man. Shout out to Twitter, man. Twitter created my income stream and my lifestyle. Twitter created his. Twitter connected me to him.
Yeah.
Twitter brought about a lot of fruitful relationships for the financial community, the trading community in general. And shout out to Twitter, man, because without Twitter, shit, bro. Because we wouldn't have done this shit on Instagram. This shit wouldn't have worked on Instagram like that. No way, man. Stock Twitch was around. Stock Twitch was around. Stock Twitch was big at one point. We almost did a couple deals with them too. Yep. And we, Howard Linson and all these guys, like we talk to everybody, bro. We talk to everybody. And so shout out to Twitter, man. Twitter was the center of all of it, and it still is. It still pulls its weight even to this day.
Yeah, just a different. It's much different now than what it used to be. That's for sure. But so you guys build this room, right? And now you obviously been doing this for quite some time. I mean, I think my first exposure was like 2016, which Jay said was like kind of when it really kind of got going and started, because I know Pete was still with you guys, and then he left with me, and him went and worked together at Halo Investing, right? That's what I know. He kind of left, and you guys started growing and building from there. But I've watched it now kind of expand. But you, and I know people are going to want to hear about this part, is you've always been known as like a tape reading guy.
Yeah.
Right. So what part of that kind of like happened throughout your journey, right? Like you going back, and when did you even learn about tape? How did it kind of affect it? Because that was kind of one of the initial selling points of the room. It's like, okay, Lucci's the tape guy, Jay's the option flows guy, right? Like What does that even become a thing for you?
I mean, remember, tape was how I started. There wasn't, technical analysis was a thing, but tape is how I started at that prop office. So they taught me tape. They taught me tape. Credit to them. Well, I wouldn't say they taught me. It's just I sat there and looked at level 2 in transactions. So for 6 months, I would print out the best trades from the head traders. Well, all their trades basically, and every single trade I would be like, all right, they got in at 10-13. What did the tape look like then? I'd scroll back through the whole thing. I'd be like, what did they see? What did they get out at? Blah 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 blah. And then over time, you're just like, all right, I see this seller right here. I see this guy going market over here. I see this wave of demand here buying this shit over here. And then you start to be like, all right, I can make 50 cents here. I can make $1 here. I can buy an option here. I can do this. That was it. It was just sitting there reading level 2 in time and sales. And I still do it to this day.
How much has it changed though? Like compared to back then to now, it's the exact same. Nothing's changed at all.
Exact same.
Which is kind of cool considering
exact same. People will sit there. People will sit there and say, "Oh, it's fluff," and there's order stuffing and quote stuffing. Of course there is, because if I'm somebody who if I'm a big player and I need to buy 2 million or something, I cannot just go and buy 2 million share. That one principle will exist till however long we have markets. If I have to buy 2 million shares of something, how am I going to do it? I mean, I have to break that order up or I got to play games here. So somebody's always manipulating the tape to some extent. And once they're done and ready to let it go, that's when we come in and we can make our money. In the meanwhile, we're just trying to figure out what they're doing. That's it. Where they're allocating their cash, who's buying X, Y, and Z. That's it. That is literally it. That shit will never change. Sure, you might see different exchanges pop up. You might see different types of quote stuffing. You might see fake orders here and there that pop up and then disappear. But dude, so demand is demand and supply is fucking supply. That shit will never die, bro. It will exist in every market, any secondary market you look at. It is the same damn thing. You don't have to make it more complicated than what it is. It runs the world, man. You want to buy Ozempic? Are you ready to pay $1,200? Oh, no? Fine. You can pay $2,000, or you can get it in Mexico City for $200 and then bring it over here and sell it to somebody else. It's all fucking supply and demand. Eli Lilly doesn't have enough supply. We have to jack up prices. Same shit over and over and over. And that's just one example. You can take any product, anything. There's no game. There's no money to be made unless there's fucking demand. It is right. What it is, bro.
Yeah, it's cool to see that too, because everything else has really changed or exploded or expanded, especially in the last like 3 to 4 years, with how fast and crazy shit has kind of changed and gone.
Very fast, and that demand dynamic changes quick. Look at what happened to this quantum computing stuff, bro. If you're gonna tell me we're that far away from quantum computing, but these dollar quantum computing stocks that maybe have a shot in 10 years to get there, and now you're going to put a valuation of almost $1 trillion on these damn things, and we're not even there? We're not even there yet? And now you want to talk to me about tape doesn't work and there's no supply and demand? Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here, man. That's how all of this shit works. But again, it's gotten crazy, man. The valuations on a lot of this AI stuff, quantum computing and all this kind of stuff, but that shows how big the demand is. That shows, and then from the demand side, there's the emotional aspect. And if you can attach the emotional aspect to it, the FOMO shit, people don't want to miss out on this stuff. That Tesla move from 250 to 450 that quick. It moves 25 points in a day, bro. And you'll look at the tape and you won't see a seller in sight, man. You won't see a seller in sight. All you'll see is offers, people who are selling the stock moving back their offers because that demand is just stepping up. It'll eat anything. They don't give a shit what price they pay for it.
Yeah, they just want as much as they can get.
They'll pay $2 up or $3 up. Just give it to me. Give it to me right now. I don't give a shit. And if you can feel that in the tape, you can make money. You can.
Yes, so you say the whole thing of like feeling it in the tape, right? Like, and not to get like super deep into it, because a lot of this took me and I'm not even that great at it. It took me a while to even like look at tape and like to begin to really understand it.
Wow. Yeah.
But when you're saying like feeling the tape, like what do you mean by that? Like you're just looking at the portions of it? Or are you saying like, no, like I've looked at this name so long, and I know when I'm looking at these orders that I just have this feeling attached to it. There's a little bit of both.
It's both, but again, you're gonna know when when these things are ready to move. It's kind of a confluence of things, right? So a big move, like let's say when they're really attacking a certain name, there's retail here that is in serious demand for these things, but then there's the market makers who have to sell us the options. And then we talk about the gamma stuff that we're doing, and we talk about we start to bring in all that stuff. And then basically you have a one-sided tape. Market makers are buying the stock, you're buying the stock, institutions are buying the stock, everybody is buying the stock. And there's not enough fucking supply to go around. So what has to happen to the stock for everybody to get their fucking wad filled? And everybody to get, everybody to be able to do what they want to do. The stock has to go up, and you can feel that. And when you attach the human component and the behavior component to it, everybody has to do it at the same time. There's no other choice. There's no other choice because you ain't going to get that price again. And you're only going to see it, obviously, every once in a while, because most days tape is shit. Most days, most stocks don't do much, really. If you look at it on a bigger picture out of a year, you take a name like like a Peloton or something like that. It just sits around and does nothing. And then all of a sudden you have some kind of catalyst that creates some interest to it. Now people are buying options. Now market makers have to hedge. Now, now things are changing, and boom, you can see and you can feel the shift in the tape because you've been sitting there looking at it, doing nothing. And oftentimes it's just a catalyst here that just shoots everything off. And that tells you how emotional we all are. Dude, that Carvana report came out the other day.
Oh, yeah.
They're talking about the stock should go back to freaking zero here. The stock already dumped like 20 points in one day. And Carvana is super illiquid. And the report was just like, these things were super overvalued to begin with. We emotionally value these fucking stocks. It's these, half of these things are not priced right. You could look at it that way. And there's an emotional component to it from all of our parts, So if something is in high demand, there's a valuation to it. There's an implied volatility to it if you look at the options. There's all of that kind of stuff, but you can break it down to common sense. It's like, do people want this shit or not kind of thing? And you can feel it. You can literally feel it in the tape. And that's my answer to that.
That's good. And the Carvana one is interesting to me, though, because of what they did. I mean, it kind of goes back to even more of the market manipulation. Shit like that.
Yeah.
I was in that fucker.
Oh, yeah. You want to peel back the layers to this shit? Forget about tape. The layers to this stuff go way beyond tape and retail. They go to literally manipulation, like you're talking about, backroom deals for debt and shit like that to inflate the numbers on the books, cooked accounting books, bro. Everything, bro. You see it all, man. And when it gets exposed, nobody can fucking.
Yeah, I was waiting for that report because there was a rumor going around on FinTwit. I mean, people take what they want from Twitter, but there's a rumor of like, hey, Carvana is going to get a Hindenburg report. I think that's what it is, right? Hindenburg, which is the short, sellers. For those that don't know, they're a big short selling firm. Yeah. But the report came out, so people started buying puts, and then what they did is people were buying these. They let it come down a little bit, and then fucking shot it to the moon.
Exactly,
jacked that shit up. And I'm sitting there to myself. I'm like, if this report comes out at some point, these people are well positioned. They're just absolutely skull fucking everyone right now as much as they can before they rip its face off. And then, sure enough, shit comes out and. It actually went up first.
It went up. Yeah, it went up off of it. Yeah, it went up.
And then they ripped it to the fucking ground. I know that you went a deep dive into what they said, and it was blowing your mind. So
no, absolutely, man. And you'll see that kind of stuff happening. And the levels of those kind of games in the boardrooms of high finance and all this kind of stuff, you wouldn't believe it, man. You wouldn't believe it. And it gets played out in front of us every single day. And it gets even worse if you look at the small cap stuff. The small cap stuff, you can't even begin to scrape the surface of how ugly that shit can get. From the pump and dumps, from the people who just call and talk to the CEOs, press releases, planned press releases, options flow that hits. It's all fucking played out. It's all planned. It's all planned attack. and it's designed to do the things that it does. And then to the short locates, to the poor fucking retail traders who are trying to make money on the shorts, they got to pay 100% fucking locate fees, and they can't even make money even if the stock does go down. And they're fake locate. The locate doesn't even exist. They don't have the shares to fucking short. They don't have the shares to lend out. So it's a fake locate, and they tell you they got to cover it back the same day. I got to write a book on this shit. It's the next like Scott Patterson, Michael Lewis book. You wouldn't believe the shady shit that goes on.
How did you start peeling the curtain back on that though? Like,
I mean, I talk to everybody, bro. Brokers, bigger traders, institutions. I talk to everybody, dude. So the information comes to me now without me having to do that much for it. Just cause like I'm around. I'll go to fucking some other country, talk to some other people, like, you know, big brokers that are trying to do business down there. You start meeting trading shops out in fucking Poland and Ukraine and shit, 200 traders out there that are doing God knows what. You'll see weird shit. Everywhere. Stuff that you wouldn't even believe, man. Futures trading groups, all this funded trading shit that's out now that's scamming everybody, bro. Oh my God, bro.
Look, but this is good.
Disgusting.
You got to give me a piece. Give me a piece. Give me a little bout of passion here on one thing that really pisses you off, Lucci. Come on. Give me a little piece.
It's got to be the funded trading stuff. It's got to be the funded trade. Actually, I would say the short locates are over it at this moment in time. What's happening right now with the small cap world is that there's only a limited amount. These things work off of floats, how many shares are actually available, and then can you actually get them on loan from somebody who's holding them? You know, there's a way to locate a share short. And now it's like the mafia now of who actually has these shares and how a retail trader can buy these shares to be able to short X, Y, and Z stock. And on the flip side of it, there's the squeezes that happen when everybody is stuck short and everybody has to cover. And then there's force covering by your brokers who know basically, like, you know, it's all in cahoots. Once one broker lets everybody go, the others do too. And now you have a stock that's worthless, that is worth $1 million or $2 million. It goes from $1 to $200. And everybody is fucked, completely fucked. And now the brokers will charge 200% for the short locate. And dude, it is a nightmare of wild proportions. And you have to know this stuff. I mean, granted, you could make a little money here and there, but if you want to make real money with this stuff, dude, the bigger traders, they'll even call into the broker before the day starts and take the whole allotment. So if you, as a retail trader, you go in at 9 o'clock trying to get a locate, it ain't there. That's because homeboy, who's got a $50 million account, he woke up at 4 a.m. and he took it all. He has it all, and you can't get it. You know what I'm saying? Because he's got to deal with the broker, and you ain't shit because you got $2,000 in your account, and nobody gives a fuck about you. So there's that going on. That funded trader stuff. Oh my God, they're printing money.
This is gonna be good because there's a lot of people that you and I both know that are into the prop firms and do stuff with Apex, Top Step. Like, it's
of course we know these guys. I know these guys. I know a lot of the guys that are behind it. If I ran a prop firm back in the 90s and then I saw this shit, it's the right solution. Of course, it was the right evolution because I don't have to put up my risk. I don't have to put up the risk capital anymore. However, there is a sweet science from the mathematical point, the standpoint of how you pay out the traders who do make money, and making sure that you have a good amount of new people coming in and continuing to buy the subscriptions. If you don't manage that balance well, you're going to have to close up shop. And when you close up shop, people who are supposedly owed money, they ain't getting paid. They ain't getting paid. Yo, my boy over here, he literally just told me he found a new prop shop or whatever, and he beat the challenges, and now they require like a 5-step interview process to figure out who you are and to add. Dude, they ask you It's literally like
Jeez.
they asked you everything. He had to do an in-person interview and everything. And they decided, this was a group out of Dubai. They decided like, nah, we don't like you. And they were like, nah, you can't.
After he paid for an account and
After he
passed it?
paid for account, passed it, spent 3 months of his life passing the account, and they said, nah, go fuck yourself.
Oh, that's fucked.
You know what I'm saying? It's little shit like that. And all the influencers, now the fucking trading influencers, who all they got to do is rack up 200,000 followers here, posting fucking dick pics or whatever on Instagram. And now all of a sudden they got a freaking prop shop. And now they're funneling all their people. They're telling them, hey, we've paid out 80 million and blah, blah, blah. No, you fucking haven't. No, you fucking
And
haven't.
they get a piece of every single person that goes in. So and
I
every time
heard
you
it.
lose, you buy a new one. You keep going on and on.
I heard it from the lion's mouth himself, man. The dudes who are really behind all this shit. That literally barely anybody takes home the cash. It's maybe 1 to 2% of people. The people who actually do make money, they keep the money in there. They keep the money in there because they want to keep it rolling. And at some point, they fucking blow out. Most people never beat the challenge anyway.
Yeah.
So it's the greatest business. It's honestly one of the greatest businesses ever created if you can do it right. The ones who fucked it up, they fucked it up really bad. But again, like it gives a bad name, I think, to the whole game in and of itself. However, I will say that it has brought in a whole new group of people that have never had exposure to any of this stuff before. And once those people realize, like, okay, I can expand off of these platforms and I can start actually trading for real, they fold into our communities too. You know what I'm saying? So, but it's just like the level of bullshit in finance and trading has reached epic proportions. And I don't like doing it, bro. I don't like talking about it anymore to people in general because it just gets a fucking bad name, man. It just gets a bad name. Even companies that are solid, you think they're solid, man. All of a sudden, they end up at freaking zero. Stuff that you would invest in long term. There's just shady shit going on everywhere. That freaking that microcomputer shit, that accounting fraud over there too. You'll hear about stuff like that too. The game is the game, man. So it goes deeper though. Be ready to pull back a lot of layers. If you really want to understand how some of this stuff works.
Yeah, and to your point, it is everywhere. Like, I think I can say some of this stuff, but when I worked in gaming, I worked for Optic Gaming and like Energy, and we had a Call of Duty League team that Activision Blizzard, right? So ATVI, which is being bought by Microsoft, right? They built this league out, and they were smart. They went and sold, and you'll love this because this is one of the greatest shorts that someone could have ever fucking had of all time. So you'll appreciate this. But they went to all these big people like Robert Kraft, who owns the Patriots, like my old boss, Andy Miller, who is a part owner of the Sacramento Kings basketball team. All these guys that had $25 million lying around and said, hey, come join this league. And they built this great old fucking pitch deck to get them to pay this fee and promised all these returns they were getting over years. And then, fast forward 4 or 5 years, every single person's like trying to get out because they lost their fucking 25 million. Yeah. They're not getting any fucking revenue from this thing at all. And they're like, oh shit. But because they have billions, $25 million is a drop in the bucket, and Activision Blizzard just like, yeah, fuck, I don't care. I pocketed it. Right. Cakewalk. What does it fucking matter? And on top of it, you helped grow our games. Right. So now on top of it, every year we come out with a new game, you guys just made it even bigger for us.
Right.
And we're making money across the board. And it was like that. And dude, the meetings I would sit in with some of these bigwigs at Activision, it was unbelievable how much they just didn't care. It was all about the stockholder and like the board and everything else. Like they didn't care about the shit they were doing. But anyways, one of the companies in this, and if you ever look up this ticker for anybody listening, I don't know if you can pull it up. It's FaZe. So FaZe Clan was in our space. Yeah, there we go,
bro.
So
FaZe, bro.
I got offered to be like when they did the private rounds of all this shit, like the deck got sent to me, right? Like in that space, I knew enough people where I was getting.
I got that deck too.
Yeah. So you get the deck, and I looked at this, and I fucking laughed my ass off at how fucking egregious it was. Like, we're gonna have 600 million, and I'm like,
600 million.
And like in profit in like 2 years. And I'm like, and they got like people from the WWE on their board, right? Like Stephanie McMahon. They got all these fucking bigwigs. I'm like, I know this space. you could own the entirety of the gaming esports side of things and not make 600 million in profit.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Not a chance.
And that IPO came out and it fucking died, bro. It died. And everybody knew it. The fucked up thing was everybody knew it.
Yeah.
And they still didn't dump. They still didn't dump the price.
Man.
They still didn't change the price. They just still didn't do anything about it, bro.
It was so fucked. Like everybody, and you could see it too. Like you have, their CFO. Like I would look at the Edgar reports from the SEC constantly, like, they're selling their shares, and then they're getting 6 months leave because they're leaving the company, but they're getting their full $500,000 salary and a golden parachute as the stock is nosediving. And that for me was like, all right, this is the first time I've been behind the curtain where I know that this shit is bullshit, and it doesn't matter. It might take time, but that company will go to zero. I can promise you to go to zero. Yeah. And sure enough, it did. It went to 13 cents at $1 billion valuation on IPO, and it got bought out for $10 million.
And it got bought out for $10 million.
10 million. Yeah, I think it was like 10. The people that bought it was like 10 or 15 million. And everybody got rich. Every single person in that fucking company got absolutely filthy loaded because the shares they were getting, obviously, you know this, a penny. And they're selling them even when the company's nosediving, they're getting out at $1. They're like, yeah, fuck, I just 100x on this shit. The fuck you mean?
Yep. And that's what happens, boys and girls. That's what happens in this game. But there will always be enough money. There's always enough money, by the way, floating around, right? Yeah. Don't think this shit is ever going to stop, or this shit even should stop, or it should all be, it's all scams. It ain't. There's also a lot of amazing companies that are doing amazing things that are absolutely worth what the valuations that they put on this stuff, but there's another side to it that
they're just less fun to talk about. The shit ones are always when they get the names, right? Like we're in this game for a reason, right? There's an edge. You can make money trading. Nobody's saying you can't. It's just when the shit's bad, it just makes for a better conversation.
We haven't even talked about crypto. And do you want to bring in a landscape where there's no regulation? None, not even the fear of some. Like you can even play the game and do illegal shit when there's fear that you might get caught. Now imagine no regulation, you won't get caught.
Dude,
what could happen?
Crypto is that is a whole fucking onion that has to, after gaming, I went into it, right? I was in crypto. Meet Smitty was in crypto. We talked about stuff, and I was on like the venture capital side, right? So I'm watching all these, I'm basically helping startups get cash, right? That's what I was doing. And I'm watching them, like how they do their tokens and all this crap. And the fights were always like, all right, I want my token to be unlocked when you have your Genesis event, right? When the token goes in the exchange, all the VCs are like, yeah, no, I want some unlock. And I'm sitting there like, yes, you can go fucking dump on every retail person that's about to come in and do it. And then they'll make their investment back. And then they're like, yeah, all right, well, I made a little bit. If this goes somewhere, perfect. Yeah. And just that industry is a whole nother fucking beast of shit.
You got to bring on like a Solana dev and like a couple guys who have created coins or whatever to come on here and give us some stories. I know a couple of guys who have created coins and again, everybody's looking for an exit. Everybody's just waiting around for an institutional exit or something like that, which may or may not come. But again, the money is out there. The money is all out there and it's all in games like this. And Jesus, BTC and Michael Saylor alone, what a game that man is playing, And so we'll see on the other side of it. You'll see the other side of it, like billions of dollars that this guy has made, just dumping everything in Bitcoin, man, and keeping it simple, bro. He ain't doing nothing else but buying BTC.
Nah, he's just doing his own thing and pumping it up, and that's what makes you want to actually sit there too. And like, this is how I developed my short bias. Like I'm like you, right? I have the same concept. I'd rather see shit die and go to fucking zero. Just I'm a contrarian. I'm the same as you. There's no different. But I got a lot of that from this type
of
shit.
What you saw. Yeah.
Burn it to the fucking ground. Like burn it all to the ground, and I will profit off of that shit because fuck you, right?
Right.
That's it. But anyways, before we go too deep into that rabbit hole, there's something I did want to ask you. Because this takes us back into a little bit more of reality, but you were one of the things that I had a lot of respect for you for before I like did anything here or that, but this was like 4 years into being in the steam room, and I was bouncing around. Like I was in there, I was out, like whatever. It's more of a side thing. I wasn't doing it full time, but you started posting your P&L on YouTube.
Yeah.
And no one No one does that. Even now, no one does that shit. Like,
Yeah, no
it's
one.
fucking crazy. Everyone just goes, "Oh, look at my Rolex. Look at my wads of cash.
Yeah,
Look
yeah,
at my
yeah,
fucking car."
yeah,
What I've always wanted to ask this question.
yeah.
Why'd you start doing that?
Um, I don't know, man. I think like I always did it. You got to remember, I started doing it, so it wasn't unusual for me. I think doing it in that way, in that type of way, made me feel, made me feel kind of cool. I had just moved to Puerto Rico too, and it was just kind of the new way of sharing content. So I'll go through cycles of like wanting to share content and then not wanting to say a damn thing because I'm just disgusted with what's happening. And I'm just like, all right, I've had enough of this, and now it's on to the next thing. So after doing like one or two of those videos, I actually enjoyed it. To be honest, my ex at the time, she had a GoPro. She had a GoPro, and that was the first time that I used the GoPro, and I was like, "Oh shit, this is kind of cool." So it for me, I just go where the creativity, where I can get creativity, because in reality, like I'm a very creative person, and if I wasn't a trader, and if I wasn't like, I would probably be playing music, or I'd probably be a writer, or I'd probably be something like that. And that's what my daughter is right now. You know what I mean? So she's got those genes, and I hope she continues with it instead of, you know, losing her soul in fucking corporate and money and all this kind of stuff. It's
Yeah,
like
chase your passion for sure.
yeah, it's like if it needed to happen, let me take the brunt of the money and the worry and all that kind of stuff, so you can just create. Because if you're able to do that, like, then we can really, express and do all those things. So anyways, like I go through these kind of creative spurts, and sometimes I have it, sometimes I don't. Right now, like my creative thing right now is that, like, I want people to know what my thoughts are, right? So I'll roll through every single day with and we all will, with literally 3 million thoughts. Like, my mind is filled with garbage, bro. Like, the half of the thoughts that I have, probably majority of the thoughts that I have, are absolutely ridiculous, and they don't mean shit, but oftentimes they manifest into emotions, feelings, and things like that. And some are negative, some are positive. So you could take any example from when I'm sitting there just scrolling through my phone for an hour, just looking at fucking dumb shit. What are the other things that are going on in my mind? What am I thinking about? Am I thinking about work? Am I thinking about money? Am I thinking about this? Because I think everybody struggles with that. I think everybody struggles with a lot of mind banter, and it
Yeah.
takes them away from the things that they need to do in life. It takes them away from being in the moment, from being present. It takes them away from everything. It takes them away from who they really are, because they'll sit there just in a bubble of thoughts that don't fucking mean anything, and they'll end up worrying about shit that's not real. They'll end up, assuming things about their friends and their relationships and their spouses or whatever that ain't fucking real. They'll end up looking at things too positively and dreaming about stuff that ain't fucking real. And you need to come back to the moment here and deal with whatever you got on the table, and you need to go and do shit. And I feel like especially the kids of the world, they're gone, bro. They're gone to the point where
Yeah.
they're more comfortable living in that world, which is fantasy world, than just doing shit. So whatever they want to accomplish in life, they're never gonna do it, bro. I hate to say it. Like, and again, like, I don't want to be blanket all of them and everything. And again, like,
No, I get
there's
what you're
this,
saying.
there's so many kids, there's so many special kids out there that you'll look at and be like, yo, that kid's fucking got it. But if he didn't spend 4 or 5 hours on his fucking phone, what would he be doing with himself? And I feel like we're all getting closer and closer and closer to a place where the mind banter has gotten out of proportion,
Yeah.
that none of us are actually present in the moment. Like, I'm even like here today, like I had to make sure I shut all this stuff off just to be here with you
Yeah.
today. If this was a normal day, well, let's say I had a bad day or something like that, I'd be on my fucking phone. I'd be watching YouTube while I'm having a conversation with you, and this interview would be fucking whack. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not even here. I'm not even in this. I'm not even in the fucking building, bro. I'm off in a escapade in the past, or I'm off in the future somewhere. And in reality, like the moment is now. This is it. This is it. This is all we got. So, but none of us are here. And if none of us are here, where the fuck are we? And you can see us all in these wild ass places filled with thoughts that don't matter. And I kind of wanted to show the vulnerability of my thoughts and just show how ridiculous it looks. That way, if somebody read it, they'd be like, holy shit, this is what I look in the fucking morning. I got to cut this shit out. You know, maybe somebody will turn it off and go do something with their fucking life, bro.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, it's the world in which we live in now too, with social media and how much it consumes people's life, and you having access to anything at the click of a button, while great, has really changed how things are. I mean, just thinking back when I was growing up too. I mean, we were outside playing sports every fucking day. Like my mind was in that. I didn't give a shit about anything else.
Right.
No, now I'm the similar as you. When I sat down for this too, I'm like, all right, phone's on silent. I have like 5 screens here, right? I gotta shut down everything but this, because otherwise I know I'm gonna get a text from someone, or I'm gonna see something, and I'm gonna be like a fucking dog chasing a squirrel. Like,
and it's a snowball effect. It's a snowball effect once, and the snowball effect now, it's like times 10. Previously, you had to roll the motherfucker down the hill. The snowball gets heavy. You're not rolling it that fast. Now the snowball, boom, one thought will lead to 10, 100 others, and now all of a sudden I'm gone. I'm not even there with you, bro. And that's a problem that we are all having today, and it can affect your trading. Yeah. It can affect your focus on anything else that you want to accomplish in life. It can affect your energy, especially your energy, your desire to do anything out here, because it's just easier to plop yourself on a couch, scroll through fucking Instagram, and just sit there and do fucking nothing. It's easier. And it even feels good. Like the receptors in your brains or whatever in our bodies are telling us this feels good, And then after 3 hours of it, we're just like, what the fuck? Is it night out? Is it dark out already? What the fuck did I even do today, bro? And we're doing too much of it, and it's bad, bro. It's bad. Yeah. So that's kind of that's where like I want my creativity to come from now. Sure. So I'll just take pictures of myself, and then now like I'll send them to Joe, and he'll do some AI shit around it or whatever.
Yeah, that photo came out fucking good, man. I don't know if you ever posted it, but it came out good as shit.
People think that shit is real. Like I'm actually there. They're like, yo, where are you? Let me go. I'm like, dude, where the fuck are you at? You know what I mean? You clearly went too far down the rabbit hole. You know what I mean? And so I kind of want to show how ridiculous it's all gotten through my thoughts. And I don't know if that makes any sense, but
no, it does. I mean, everyone has their own way that they want to express themselves in all of this. That's why I was always kind of curious with you. Like, Jay's like, I just want community. I just want to talk to people. I want to do this. You're like,
I'm like that
contrarian, talk shit. Like,
I'm like that too. Talk. I mean, look at where I'm at. You see people walking behind me and shit like that. Like this is home for me and so many other people. And this is special to me because anytime I'm not here, my peoples are here. They're checking out for me. They're yo, let's go over here. Let's go over here. Yo, I got this person. You need to meet. Blah 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 blah. Like that's everything to me. So community is it's everything to me. And I think we're all going to sit in these pockets, these little worlds of communities here. And that's how we find our people. That's why we find our tribes, so to speak. And now there's so many different communities that you can be a part of. So that's a great thing. That connection, for me is necessary, man. If I don't have it, dog, I'm walking around like a fucking zombie out here, bro.
Yeah, and I think that's why people gravitate towards you too. I mean, like just like when you see someone posting their P&L on YouTube, like that's just one example of them being super transparent. But you want to I always surround myself with people that I would enjoy talking to. Like if I don't enjoy talking to you, like why you're fucking in my life? A mantra I've always kind of lived with. But I see it in the room all the time too now. Like, oh shit, Lucci's on stream. Fuck yeah. Like people get all ecstatic for it just for the interaction, the banter, and the talk. It sounds stupid, but for a lot of people too, it mentally it might even help them or calm them down or whatever. Just because you have someone else that you can talk to that kind of thinks like you, because you're, we'll call it a man of the people. But I won't glaze you too much. I did that with Ranch too. I'm like, hey, I'm going to give you a little bit of a glaze right now, but we'll tone it down so you don't get too big of an ego. So something that I like to kind of, finish with too and ask is, if you could boil this game down, right, this trading game into something super simple, and you're a new person that's coming into the game that goes, hey, you've inspired me to want to pursue this. Like, I'm taking my hat out of the fucking clouds. I've dabbled a little bit, but I really want to do this. What's that piece of advice you give them?
Oh, create a system, man. Create a system and create like the mental hacks and the personal hacks for yourself, right? So and this goes with knowing yourself and knowing where your strong points are and your weak points are, and creating hacks for those things. But also, you need the accountability. Oftentimes, like, you're not strong enough to keep yourself accountable. And what are you going to do here when you find yourself making the same mistake over and over and over again? And that's what's going to happen with most traders here. They'll see some success, but they'll see some of the bad stuff as well, and they can't get out of the bad stuff, or the bad stuff gets too bad and they can't crawl out of these holes anyway. And it's not that they're bad traders or they don't know what they're doing. It's just there's too much noise. There's too many strategies you're looking at. There's too much of it. There's too much of all of it. You have to narrow it down to something simple, something that you can make into a system, and something that makes money. Patterns that that make money, that you can focus on, and you can create your systems around it to keep yourself accountable and to keep yourself under control. And self-control, unfortunately, in this day and age, it's hard to come by. So if you're not that type of person who is able to pull it all back and say no to everybody and disappear off the face of the fucking planet to figure something out, that's where you're going. Like, that's how this shit is going to test you. And be ready for it, and that's what it is. That's literally what it is. No one is going to come to save you. No one is going to come to save you. At some point, somebody can feed you a strategy, somebody can feed you education, all that shit in the world you can have, and you'll still find a way to fuck it up because you can't control yourself. So you need to find hacks and systems to control yourself, because generally speaking, most people can't do it themselves, and they can't trust themselves to do it over, consistently over a decent period in time. And that's why AI, my friend, it's coming in fucking hard, because you can't trust yourself to do it, but AI can consistently do it every single fucking time. And if AI can slowly, become a conscious or even mirror human behaviors and things like that, shit, if you can't do it, what would you pay? What would you pay for somebody to make you do it, or for somebody to guarantee that you could? What kind of money would you pay? You know what I mean?
Someone's going to do that too. There's going to be someone to be like, yeah, because you've seen the auto trading. The auto trading has been out for a while, but you're going to get an AI one. Be like, hey, we literally took every single Lucci trade for the last 15 years and made it into a bot.
Sure.
Sure. We'll trade for you. See what happens.
So all this stuff is coming out. I mean, shit, you can experiment with some of the auto trading stuff as well. You're still going to have to do tweaks. Remember, I invested millions of dollars in HFT guys who were all auto traders. There wasn't a single trade that they put on that wasn't an automated trade. They still went to fucking zero. So what the fuck does that mean for you? You know what I mean? Just because you bought a bot, it doesn't mean shit. There's 90 million bots out there right now. You're still going to have to tweak it. You're still going to have to play with it. It can all work. Trust me, it can all work. All right. There's so many different ways to skin the cat, but can you control yourself is the biggest problem that every new trader and even the seasoned guys will have.
Simply put, that is a perfect spot for us to end right there. That's the hardest part of this entire game that people rarely ever talk about, is the psychological. So, appreciate the words of wisdom there for anybody else that is looking to get in the game. And Lucci, appreciate you taking 2 hours out of your day to sit down with me and chat, brother.
Time to eat, man. Time to eat. And then it's the weekend, man. Thank you for doing this, man. You're offering a much different voice for us as well. And then it's all in-house. This is the Sang Lucci crew, and it's our podcast this time versus hopping on, so many others, which I've done for so long. So big shout out to Joe, man. Thanks for joining the crew, and thanks for doing all this, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anybody in here wants to, see more of Lucci, hear more of Lucci, join us in the Steamroom. Head over to our website, steamroomtrading.com. He's always in there, mostly talking a lot of shit, but super smart with his trades and talking to everybody. So we'll catch you in the room. And again, Lucci, thanks for the time.
All right, take care, everybody.